Rebic, Rafa, tira, gol! Rafael Leao! Oggi segna Leao! La mia giornata è iniziata così! Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Tallgrud.
What's up guys, glad to be back. Yeah, we're here and we're ready.
Just about. Maddie's back with us.
Yep, took a week off. Should have taken more time, but here I am with you guys. I'm just
should have taken more time indeed. Yeah. Oh man, this is gonna be fun. So we've got a game to recap, just the one this week. We've got no games to preview because there's a random international break at the end of this month.
Don't we have Spezia, or did you guys do Spezia last week?
Oh, we did it. Recorded a day later.
Yeah,
sweet.
Really are up to date at the moment, mate. Thank you for.
I love watching the podcasts when I'm not on them.
Yeah. We got the Juve game to recap. No games to preview because there's South American World Cup qualifiers, so the major leagues have decided it's time for a break. Fair enough. It's what it is. Time for San Siro to get completely knocked down and rebuilt, I think, hopefully.
Is that what it is? I didn't know that it was. I had no idea why there was a break. I was just
Neither did I. I was looking up.
This is new, right? They normally don't do this.
Yeah. Normally don't. It's just caused so much logistical chaos before. Like, big teams have had South American players missing and stuff. So we might as well dive straight into it. I guess first things first, did you manage to stay awake for the full 90 minutes against Juventus?
Yeah, I was going to sarcastically say there was a lot of action in this game. I mean, we were the better team significantly. I think we held actually, and I'm sure a lot of people heard this on the on the broadcast. I just found out how possession is calculated by the share of passes, not time holding the ball. That blew my mind. But yeah, so apparently Juve technically actually had more possession than us, but we had the ball just about the entire game in their half, and we had all the attacks. I don't think they had a single shot on goal. We had 4, maybe 5, but we had like 15 shots. How many fouls were there? 36 called and only 4 cards.
Well, he gave like a couple early on, didn't he? And
he gave Leao one on his first go. He gave.
If he'd have remained consistent with that, there would have been
Leao yellow like really soft though too.
Mm-hmm.
He'd
already given one for a little. The thing is, then he didn't remain, and we ought to say at this point, it was meant to be Orsato who was refereeing, and then he got COVID. Always following COVID protocol. I think he actually got it. So then DiBella was drafted in to be the referee, and our record under him isn't an awful lot better.
But I do think DiBella's a better referee.
Yeah, he's a better referee. The consistency wasn't there because I think he gave a couple of early cards to try and stamp his authority on what was going to be a pretty tense fixture with some challenges flying in and a lot of players that don't necessarily like each other. He did that to try to stamp his authority. The fouls carried on. So then he either had to double down on it and start sending people off, or he just acknowledged that the game was going to be that way and then let it flow. And I think afterwards, we can all look back on it and say, actually, it wasn't a terrible refereeing performance. I don't think there was anything controversial.
People are crying for the penalty on Calabria in like the second or third minute, but I've watched it a few times this morning, and I don't think it's.
I think it would have been harsh. I mean, even if we'd have got it, I'd have said, well, they're getting a makeup call for that. A soft bit of contact.
Yeah, if they gave it to us, I would say it was a makeup call for the Spezia game, but different ref. Yeah. Why would he? Why would he give us a freebie? So.
Also, if it was one on Calabria, then it was arguably one at the other end for Messias on Morata, which was contact sort of from behind. It would have been. Yeah. If he's giving one, he's probably got to give the other to be fair and consistent.
But
in the end, I'm glad neither were given.
Both were very similar to the penalty Tanganga got on us against Kessie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still bitter about that, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
To recap.
Yeah.
It was Moise Kean got a card on his first foul. Leao got one on his first foul. Messias got one on his first foul, and Locatelli got one on his first foul. Everyone else got a lot of fouls and no cards. So I don't know. I mean, say what you will. I think that's a little interesting, but whatever.
I feel like the game never really got full momentum.
No, and I thought that was going to play into our hand. I thought we were going to have the quicker fast break players, which is why, and I'm sure Ollie wants to talk about this later, but it's why I think Pioli made the wrong decision to take Zlatanov for Giroud and not Rebic. I feel if we had Rebic and Leao from early on, that stop and go, they're so fast on the break and the counter that I think that would have played into our hand a lot better than the slow guy. I mean, when you got a game that's stopping every 10, 15 seconds, you just can't have a guy like Zlatan or Giroud up top who doesn't run anymore.
Yeah,
you know, like they're just not fast enough.
To be fair, that was also in the first 30 minutes, so we didn't know what the rest of the game was going to be like. But also, the team plays and practices with Giroud and Zlatan up top.
Yeah,
so, like,
I guess that's true.
Playing with the hold-up striker.
But Rebic has also scored 3 in his last 3 against Juve, bar this game. This is now 3 and 4, I guess. But
I would have much rather played with Leao and Rebic together than.
Yeah, I just think it's so much more dynamic. And I know Zlatan's our top goal scorer still, but I don't know. I mean, he's hurt again. Supposedly he's going to be back for the Derby. How many times have we heard Pioli say, "Oh, it'll just be a few days. It's just precautionary," and then they're out for 2 months.
It's curse, isn't it? He needs to stop saying that. He needs to just say, "I don't know anything about it." But the good news
I didn't even see it.
The good news is he isn't having scans, so that suggests that it's not even bad enough to have an MRI and have a look if there's any damage. So that's good. I mean, it's say what you want about his recent performances. It's still better to have him and Giroud fit for the derby.
Yeah. I mean, if he's available, I want him to be available. But.
Yeah. I think so. That I thought we were the better team throughout the first 30 minutes, right up until probably you could say that substitution. I think Juve started the first 2 minutes really quickly, and then we settled down a little bit, and we were definitely moving the ball sharper and more precise than what Juve were able to do through their midfield, which was a bit kind of, I don't want to say cobbled together, but their team in general, I thought was a bit strange. I mean, we'd heard all week that Chiellini de Ligt were going to be the centre-back pairing, and then Rugani comes in the last minute. We'd heard other combinations of the two fullbacks, and then De Sciglio ended up coming in.
And McKennie was playing on the wing. I mean,
McKennie on the left as well. On the left, if anything, he was tipped in a couple of the papers to start on the right wing. Dybala obviously is the 10, and then Benton Kerr. Some were saying that he was going to be on the bench because he's supposedly close to a move to the Premier League somewhere, Villa by the sounds of it, which would be quite funny. Him and Locatelli starting together in midfield. I said on the preview podcast, it's a lineup that doesn't really strike fear into me anymore. I don't think there's any pace in there, and the only one who's capable of creating a moment of genius while Chiesa is off the field is Dybala. And we did a really good job of sitting a man on him. And I actually think
he had a good game though. He still did well. Game, he had some magic flicks, some dummies.
He was the one who was always trying to do something. Morata, I mean, I don't know what they see with Alvaro Morata, and I'm not surprised they're going for a different centre forward. They need something a bit different there. If I were Juve, I'd consider starting with Moise Kean. He looks to at least have a bit of pace to challenge.
But again, like you said, they were strong the first few minutes. They had a corner before the 1 minute mark. And that was it. They never had a corner the rest of the game.
Right.
Well done, Juve, on your 0 shots on target. That hasn't happened in something like 4 years. It was really, really, really good from Kalulu and Romagnoli. I think they both deserve credit. It wasn't a faultless game from Romagnoli, to be honest. There were a couple
but he
of
had
times...
some dangerous tackles that he hit 100% on.
He had to.
I was going to say, I was just
like, come on, man. You're just asking to get a penalty here. You need to stop.
He had that one where he made a fantastic recovery challenge, and thankfully the offside flag went up. So even if he got it wrong, it wouldn't have mattered. But he timed it so perfectly that you thought, that's what we need. When he's sharp, he's capable of making those challenges. That is his strength, his positioning, awareness, knowing the right thing to do. He's not the most athletic. He's not the quickest. He's not even the strongest anymore. I think we've seen that, but it's still there. It's still in him. And I think Kalulu actually was a good complementary partner to him from an athleticism point of view. He had no problems going and challenging Dybala when he was trying to receive the ball. That allowed our midfield to play a little bit further up. You know what, though? We're kind of clutching at straws overall. We hardly created an absolute golden scoring chance. Giroud had a couple of headers from crosses. One, I think, that was above him a bit, and then the other one that he planted straight at Szczesny. There wasn't tons in the game. I don't understand, and I'm happy, if you want to object to this, but I don't understand why people thought that it was going to be a wide open game to begin with. People talked it up as a potential barnstorming game, with multiple goals and stuff. But I thought there was so much on the line for both teams that neither of them could really afford a loss. we'd have really widened the gap to Juve, who keep us just about within touching distance. And of course, they're battling for the top 4. Whereas a second home defeat in less than a week for us going into the derby would have been catastrophic from a mentality point of view. So what I saw were 2 teams that were happy for the game to be cagey. Nobody really wanted to open it up. I think the substitutions are a bit of a reflection on that. And what we got out of it is a 0-0 draw and a boring game. I don't think it's a great advert for Italian football. It kind of slips back into the stereotype of being a football purists will call it a chess match kind of game.
Yeah.
But it's one of those games of chess that goes on for a long time and nobody really watches.
And that's how Lazio Atalanta was as well. But, we had like 3 or 4 weeks.
Atalanta.
Yeah.
0-0, but better game.
We had like 3 straight weeks of Serie A having a ton of goals each match week. So, if there's 1 week where there's 3 or 4 games in a row, a couple 0-0s, like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's fair, dude. That's fair. I wanted to circle back to the point on the substitution. Thought it was weird, first of all. Giroud, camera pans to Giroud, who's getting his jacket off. And I thought he's literally just doing that. He's taking his jacket off. He might have warmed up, he's warm, whatever. Because Ibra was in possession at the moment that was happening. So the camera then pans back to Zlatan, who's on the ball.
Yeah.
And, people on Twitter, people in the group chat start saying, "Oh, Ibra must be injured." I don't think so. He's literally moving fine. Yes, the good news is that hopefully he should be okay. It's just hard turf is going to do that to your Achilles tendon at 40 years of age. And the pitch is an absolute disgrace, but it's been relayed. So,
good.
That's pretty good. Normally, the groundsman confirmed that essentially it's a problem with having 7 games in 18 days. There's been 2 in that where there's been 2 in 2 days, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like 2 really short bursts. Normally between our home games, they managed to get the heaters on it. They managed to, regenerate the grass pretty quickly artificially, but they just haven't had the time to do it. Getting towards this congested fixture schedule. He also confirmed that generally they relay the turf once a year in the summer before the new season. Wow. And now they're going to do something with he says all the top stadiums in the world have where they're basically going to plant more fibres in between the grass or something to make it more of a hybrid pitch, which would be good if it keeps it, from going as rotten as it has been, because even in the Inter Venezia game, there were certain passages of play where you thought Inter aren't trying 100% here. Like, the players don't want to get injured. And then Correa did get injured, and he left the field in tears in a previous game. So it just goes, and then Ibra obviously goes off with a sore tendon. It just goes to show that it is bad like that. It can cause injuries. It's that bad a surface. But yeah, circling back to it, I would have brought Rebic on for Ibra when he went off injured. I think Pioli made the safe choice by bringing on Giroud because he probably saw us getting a foothold in the game and thought, why would I radically change something? Also, Giroud's goal-scoring record at San Siro this season is pretty good. You can't argue with that. But I thought that the reason that we were looking most dangerous within those first 30 minutes is because we were catching them when they were unorganised. And the one thing that I think would have exploited that even further is if we'd have had a runner in behind to stretch them. Rugani gets thrown in there last minute and Chiellini was up for it. You could tell he was up for it. He has those games where he plays like a man possessed at 37 years of age. And for some reason, we decided to double down on playing a static number 9. And I just think if he'd... I'd like to see it. It might have worked out badly. Rebic might not have had much of a touch. We might not have had an out ball, but I don't think he could have performed much worse than Giroud did. I'm not saying Giroud was a 1 out of 10, scored an own goal, stuff like that. But everything that was pinged at him, he couldn't trap properly. He didn't seem to have the chemistry with the players around him. And then obviously he has a couple of headed chances that he doesn't bury. So yeah, that's the sub I would have made.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it all up there. Not much else to add.
Sorry for the solo rant there, boys.
There just wasn't anything else about the game, honestly. That was it.
No.
It was pretty dead.
I thought Cuadrado would have targeted, or they'd have got the ball to Cuadrado more to target Teo. Now, I'm not saying Cuadrado's the best winger in the world. He's certainly not Chiesa. However, I thought they might have known, Teo's on a yellow card. He can't dive in. He's not his usual committed
Cuadrado
self.
had the ball more than most of their players. I mean, it seemed like every 20, 40 seconds.
Yeah, but every
Quadrado
time
was
he
on the
drove
ground.
inside.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, he was just getting stopped. He just wasn't beating our guys. And you know what? We beat DeCilio quite a bit, but also in the beginning, he looked really good. And I was kind of thinking, like, oh, crap, not this guy, of all people, not him.
Yeah.
But he got a few over Teo. He got one over Leao. He got one over Zlatan. And I was like, damn, okay.
Was it DeCilio got megged? Salamarca's megged someone again.
I think that was DeCilio.
Yeah, it was certainly
because his game dropped off after Zlatan came off. DeCilio turned down.
That's another thing, and I actually thought he did better than Macias overall. But
Macias had a stinker, man, and I'm so sad about that. I don't think he understands what you have to do against a team like that, because he killed all of our counters, and even when we're playing a slow game like that game, when you have a counter, especially like one of the ones he had late, like around the hour mark before he came off, he stopped on the edge of the box and waited for us to get in position, which makes sense. That's fine. But against Juve, you're letting everyone get back. And next thing you know, there's 10 men behind the ball. And like, you can't do that against a team like Juve. And I don't think he's there yet where he knows that. I mean, how many times has he played against them? This is the 4th time in his career ever.
Yeah.
If that, I don't even know if he played both of them. No, he didn't play the first leg. So this was his first time against them, at least with us. I don't know if he played it last season.
And on that San Siro pitch, which certainly doesn't help. Because when he had that little purple patch, we were playing to his strengths in a way, because obviously majority of our attacks prior to that were left-sided. So teams were preparing for that. We've gone back to being that way, to be honest. Maddie's getting...
Maddie's a witch.
That is sensational, to be honest. For those who can't see, a cat has just clambered onto Maddie's shoulder. But yeah, and the thing that we were doing to get Macias into the game was get him in isolation against his fullback. And when he was playing with confidence, and I don't think he is at the moment, I think it's kind of dropped a little bit. He was having a run at him, and he was happy to cut inside and whip a cross in or have a shot. And also he was taking up some dangerous positions at the far post, waiting for balls to come in. So, for example, you saw the looping header he scored against Genoa, the rebound he tucked away against Roma, the first goal he scored against Genoa as well. Was smart positioning wise. At the moment, he just isn't in games, and if he is, it's because he's giving the ball away. That's not ideal. Whereas with Salamarca, the one thing that you can say is when he comes in, he doesn't let losing the ball a couple of times hurt his confidence. He just keeps going. He keeps going, keeps trying, and he got that nutmeg. And the problem is he then got overconfident, and instead of laying it back to Giroud or whoever else was I think Brahim Diaz was also in the box at that point. It might have been someone else.
Who we should say actually did a lot better.
Yeah.
Brahim did a lot better. We've obviously criticized him a lot lately, so important to point out he had a much better game than normal. Still not the best. I'd still put him in one of the bottom performers of the squad, but it was good.
He did another Roma type thing for me, though, where he looked pretty good in the first 20, 25 minutes. And we didn't really see an awful lot of him after that.
I thought the substitution where he came off, I thought that was weird, to be honest with you.
Benacer, wasn't it, who came on?
And then they moved Krunic to attacking mid, and I just thought if you're gonna switch the attacking mid, don't put a standard midfielder. Throw on Rebic, move out of the middle, put Rebic out wide, and just try to create some dynamism. Like that game was there to be won. It was gonna. Everyone knew that was a 1-goal game. It's an Allegri side. All you need is 1 goal, and.
I really wanted to see us go a goal up just to see how much Allegri panicked. I wanted to see how weird his subs got under pressure. There was some Juve fans calling for that Ake kid who got named. I think he's a winger from their Primavera who got named on the bench, saying just throw him on there because he's got to be better than Quadrado. So I wanted to see how desperate he got, but I think they came for a point maybe and got it, to be honest, which is a shame because, as you say, it was a 1-goal game. Just that one moment of showing our clinical nature, and it would have been good.
2 or 3 seasons ago, I would have been so happy to take 2 points out of 2 games from Juve, but after the last few years, it's like we really should have won both games, to be honest.
We should have, yeah. Closing stages of the away game. We had our chances in this one as well. The final pass was missing. For once, I think I agreed with pretty much every word that Pioli said in his pre-match press conference. Basically said, his post-match press conference, he said it was better than Spezia, definitely. But we just weren't good enough in the final third. Apart from that, we were the better team. And I totally agreed with that. And it's a sign, I suppose, of how far we've come and how far Juve have fallen that we're disappointed to not win both games this season against them. They've got some real figuring out of stuff to do, but they'll probably spend their way out of it. Makes you wonder, though, doesn't it, now, like, what is the title race now just a dream more so than a reality?
No, I think we definitely need to win against Inter to make it a possibility, because we're in third place now?
Yeah, I mean, tied on points with second for Napoli.
Yeah.
So.
Right. We are dropping points earlier than we did last season and at a faster pace over the past month, which worries me. Now, title race is all fun and stuff, but our main goal needs to be top 4. But it's like a tease when you're in first place for, 3 or 4 months. We were in first place this season.
Well, we only were actually in first for a couple match weeks, but we
kept pace with Napoli and we're basically
first, and it was Napoli.
And so, it's I don't know, it's a tease, but we just need to concentrate on top 4 before we start getting disappointed for losing the title, because we don't have the depth to compete with Inter.
And I agree. Inter's still the clear best team in the league. Looking at the table, we're closer to first than we are to fifth. So we're still we're 7 points off the drop out at Champions League. We just drew with Juve, so we have the goal that we won't have head to head against them because it was 2 draws, but we do have goal difference over them by some margin. We're +9 over them. So even if we do drop 7 points to them, we're still in a good spot there. Yep. That'll leave us up, but we're only 4 points off of Inter. Granted, they have a game in hand. They could make it 7, which makes the derby extremely critical. And if we don't win the derby, if we lose the derby, a draw we could survive. It's going to be tough, but we could survive.
Yeah, it prolongs it.
A loss, though, that seals it. That gives them head-to-head. That gives them potentially a 10-point lead. That does everything. That's it. We're not coming back from that. I don't care if there's 14 games left.
If Juve don't finish in the top 4, they're going to be financially fucked.
Yeah.
It is so big for them to do that.
And I'm curious what the situation with Inter is. All you gave us a little financial insight this morning. Does that mean that they're going to be signing some big boys, or what do we think that's about?
What happened this morning?
They've issued more bonds, which basically means they're increasing their debt level. It's currently at legal.
Isn't financial fair play a thing, or is that just for us?
Yeah, it's just us.
Barca have kind of been doing a similar thing, to be honest. Obviously, they've already got 415 million of existing debt. It's either that's what they've already got or that's what they're going up to. But I think they took a 300 million euro loan from some capital fund, a Canadian or something. That needs paying back, and that needs paying back with interest. That's what happens. I mean, there is some now speculating they're basically going to go the Milan route, and they're going to get taken over by a capital fund, a hedge fund, because Sunning won't be able to repay that, and they will acquire basically a club on the cheap. Now whether that might actually be a good thing for them, because that's hitting the reset button. But there's nothing to suggest that if this other fund were to take over Inter, that they'd want to get people in to run it in the right way. They might just start liquidating assets and say we want a return on the money that we lent. But yeah, interesting to see what happens there. We're definitely. I mean, I used one of my favourite quotes in the group chat yesterday when we were talking about the transfer market from Shakespeare play Julius Caesar. There is a tide in the affairs of men which taken at the flood leads to great fortune. Basically means take momentum when you've got it, otherwise you lose it. And you've got to wonder if where we are at as a club now is probably ahead of where Elliott thought that we would be. Maldini talked about needing 3 or 4 years of consistent Champions League football before we would have the revenues and would be in a financial fair play position to start investing again in top players. But fans can't accept that, because what's happened is we've gone from 6th place to fighting for a title within the space of months. Yeah, within the space of months, whereas realistically our owners are saying that we only need to be in the top 4. So we're exceeding expectations. The problem comes when it's not that we don't have the means to back the ambition. Elliott are one of the top 20 richest hedge funds in the world. They've got They made $40 billion last year in a pandemic year. The money's there. They can buy anyone they want. And I mean that, in the same way that the Arab funds and the Qatari funds of world football can. They can buy anybody that they want. But they can't do that because we're under a settlement agreement. We can only spend so much money because we were screwed over by the previous ownership. So for fans that are questioning our ambition, that's where we're at. Our hands are tied for the time being. But
and I understand the financial fair play. I understand the settlement, all that. But I feel like when a new ownership comes in and they clear all the debt, that should kind of wipe the slate. Like, why am I being punished for the previous person's transgressions? Like, you don't move into a house and then you don't like rent an apartment and be charged for something that the previous tenant did. Like,
well, it's because you're renting, you're not owning.
Yeah, well, okay, fair enough, whatever. But I can't find a good example. But it's just not your fault if someone else did something. Buy a car, the previous owner's issues
are now yours because you own the car and you have to pay to fix it.
Yeah, okay, I guess I'm wrong.
I know the analogy that you're going with, though, and it is true, like, to an extent, because I think UEFA will recognise that we've taken massive steps forward financially to cut our losses, cut them by over 100 million from season before to the last season. But the target that we were set for 2021-2022 financial year is to hit 30 million in losses. And by all accounts, that's going to be pretty tough to do. So we either go to UEFA and say, look, pandemic, we've missed out on a lot of revenue from ticket sales and all this, and they can buy that. There are also people saying, and I don't know how I feel about this, I'd have to pump some numbers into it to see how it works, but there are people saying because UEFA are being a bit more lenient with financial fair play because of the pandemic, they're giving clubs a bit more time to get their finances in order and stuff, that we should act on that. We should just try and push our leverage as much as possible and go and sign big. I think that's a bad idea as well. We're still under
exactly
massive
what Inter
scrutiny.
did, and then they sold everyone. Not everyone.
Under massive scrutiny.
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say, AJ. Where if you buy a company and you take them out of bankruptcy, you're no longer in bankruptcy, and you don't have to pay those fees.
Yeah.
So, like, if you buy a club and pay off their debt, then you shouldn't be in financial fair play trouble because it's like, it should be like a restart,
Especially clearing the debts. I mean, Elliott didn't have to do that. They've put up over 600 million in capital. They've pumped about 650 million euros of capital into the company.
And the idea is to prevent clubs from going bankrupt. If they see that we cleared debts, they see our money, they see that we made 40 billion over the year, like as far as the ownership.
No,
maybe
we didn't make right.
I know the ownership is Milan, but who do the Milan problems fall back on? The ownership. It's to prevent them from going bankrupt. If Elliott's never going bankrupt, then why are we worried about?
Especially when clubs like Barca can't re-sign Messi because they have no money.
Yeah, when they're over £1 billion in debt and they're taking out more bonds to go deeper in debt, and there's no real punishment for them, but we were in trouble over 30 million. Is that what it was?
Right.
Something silly like that.
Well,
come on.
No, we were in trouble over 200 million in losses. That was
okay. So
the thing is, we're being punished. But FFP
so half of what Inter
period.
have.
Yeah.
No losses for the year. The 2017-18 financial year, we were over 200 million in losses because of all the money spent on the transfer market. And UEFA said you can't do that again. And then it didn't help when Leonardo we were still under settlement agreement at this point, and then Leonardo decided to spend 70 million in one transfer window on Paqueta and Piontek. Yeah. So I don't think that really helped us, but it works in a 3-year period. So that was 2017-18. It takes you up to 2021. And that's the period that UEFA will take a look at and say, have you made improvements? And then next year, they'll look at 18-19 through to the current financial year. So the further we get away from the disaster of 2017, the better we're going to be. And I think that's why Maldini's preaching patience. I hope we're like a coiled spring here, just, ready.
Just wait.
Once we get the all clear to be like, okay, you've done good work there, we can. And I'm not saying we'll ever go out and spend 100 million plus in a window again, but people are talking as if we didn't sign anyone in the summer, and we actually committed to 70 million worth of operations. It's not nothing. These players aren't coming and playing for free, even the loan players. And Anyway.
Well, and that was what Maldini said about why he didn't join the club under Yang Hong, was that he didn't have faith in the project, and then he does have it under Elliott. So I mean, that maybe Elliott did say, like, once we get out of this financial period, we'll be winners, and right now we're just gonna do it wisely and cheap and get to where we need to be, and then once we're released, like, then let's go all out, so maybe that is the idea. Who knows? Maybe you're right about this coiled spring thing, but I guess
coiled spring theory. Yeah, let's see. Just before we move on to the transfer market, I wanted to do tops and flops for Juve. Realised we forgot to do it. My top
we didn't put the banner. Oh well.
Yeah, that's okay. Just to go quickly front to back, Maignan didn't have anything to do. I thought Calabria and Romagnoli were good on their returns to the starting 11. Was pleased to see that. They both looked like they hadn't really missed a minute. Kalulu was very good. Teo, he had his moments, but was wasteful in the final third, I think. Including that chance late on where he tried to poke the ball through to Benacer instead of just taking on a shot. I would have backed him with a shot there all day. Krunic, 6 out of 10 sort of thing. Tonali, best on the field for me. I thought he ran the game. He was... Don't know why that free kick we got towards the end of the first half, Giroud took it.
And that was odd.
Tonali's the one who scored a free kick.
And Giroud should always be in the box. All he does is headers. He should always be in the box on a free kick.
Teo's even taken better free kicks,
Well, and Giroud's wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad free kick by any means. It just
hit the wall, though. I mean, you got to get it through.
I could have sworn it went over it.
No, he hit the wall. I don't think they got a guy to lay down, behind the wall. They got a draft excluder. But he didn't hit him. I think he
what I
into the wall.
Thought it was going to be, because it was right on the right edge of the box. And there was the wall here, Giroud here, but then Calabria was open to the side. I thought he was just going to do a cheeky little layoff and then flick it in, which would make Giroud being on the free kick even weirder, because then it would be a heading opportunity. But that wasn't the idea, I guess.
That was a strange one. Yeah, my man of the match is Tonali, anyway.
Same.
As for the rest, Leao was fantastic, amazing. Dribbling was a joy to watch. He was beating players on the dribble with ease until he got double-teamed. They realised, quickly shifted, realised Messias was having a stinker, so they could afford to shift bodies over, and they dealt with him pretty well. So another performance from Leao, though, and I don't want to dig him out. He's been amazing this season, where first half was great, second half, you might not have noticed he was on the pitch.
I think he was just neutralised a bit more in the second half. I mean, he was tired. He was on a card. There was a lot more people on him, and then in the second half, because there were 22 fouls in the first half, and he was carded. So the assumption going into the half 2 is that, okay, cards are going to start coming out here now. I'm already on one. The derby's next. Maybe we tone it down a bit. And I think that was the logic behind taking Rebic off, taking Leao off for Rebic. But it was still a 76 minute at that point. Most of the game had gone. You saw that he wasn't changing the way he was carding. So I think he got that wrong as well. But as far as my top, I'm actually going to go with Romagnoli.
Yes.
His game surprised the hell out of me. I thought he did everything right. I know he said he had a few mistakes, but I really don't think he did. I thought it was
not serious errors, no.
Yeah, I thought it was a near flawless performance from him, to be honest. And that's what we need from the captain, especially coming back and with what we've had on the back line lately. It did look like he got hurt for a little bit, and then he just kind of bounced it off. So hopefully that's nothing serious. And for my flops, I'm going to go with I'll let you guys pick who my flop is out of my 2 favorite players, Messias and Maignan.
Oh, damn.
Maignan didn't do anything in the game, so it's really hard to say he did bad. But his distribution was really poor. A lot of his kicks went either out of bounds or straight to a Juve player for some odd reason.
I think his kicks that went out of bounds is because he was about to be under pressure.
Some of them were just straight from the goal kick, though, and it didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, I mean,
maybe it was windy.
He didn't have like a bad game. It just he didn't do anything because Juve had no attack. So what he did do, if it was a little lackluster, I mean, I'd probably rate him a little.
There was
There
was the one corner as well that came in, and Maignan nearly got caught out positionally. He had to backpedal and palm it for another corner. That would have been embarrassing if that had gone in.
There was only one corner the whole game.
Oh, that was the one then.
Yeah. But it didn't go out for another corner. Oh, it did, but then it was called offside. That's what it was.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, so it wouldn't have even counted. Okay, fair. I'm going with Giroud.
I'm going to still do my top as Romagnoli because he was unstoppable. Flop is Ibra. Even though he came off injured when he was on the field, he was misplacing passes and looked slow, and
I kind of agree with that.
Was not. We looked like we weren't playing with a striker because he was in the midfield.
Well, he was playing behind Brahim. Brahim was
right. He did
playing
more. He
striker.
did more in 28 minutes than Giroud did productively in the game. And
he gave the ball away a few more times.
He can maybe, yeah.
Giroud actually had a shot on target.
Doesn't necessarily mean all positive. But Giroud had 2 headers. I think one of them wasn't a bigger scoring chance as people are making out. It's tough to, maybe if you've not got a massive neck, then it can be tough to crane your head back and knock one back across goal. So I think he just tried to drop it into a dangerous area. There were no runners. They didn't anticipate it. They thought he was shooting. The second one, he should score. He should score. That is a chance. He scored harder headers than that. The Genoa Cup equaliser was a harder header than that. He put it straight at Szczesny, who was positioned well. But if it's either side, he scores a massive goal for us in the scheme of the season.
Yeah. I think scoring a header overall, or placing a header accurately is harder than taking a shot. You could aim your shot, whereas with a header you could also aim it, but not nearly as well as when you're just taking a free kick or something. So I cut him a little slack. I mean, if he gets it on target, I think it's a good header, and that's what he did. It was just saved. It was right at Szczesny. So.
Also, we should talk about how Calabria was really close to repeating a top corner screamer like he did.
Dude, his shots were freaking fantastic.
He can really hit one. He cut into his left foot and hit that. I thought there were forwards that wouldn't have the balls to do that. Yeah. I like that he just says, "Yeah, I'm going to do it again." Nearly.
Yeah, I put it in the chat, but it was weird about Calabria watching him the first half because he did everything right. Every challenge he made, I think he was successful in the first half. But the way his body was moving was he didn't know what he was doing. He was just all over
he had
the place.
Vertigo. Yeah.
Like he was a used car sales blow up thing.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. And I was like, he's just getting lucky on all these right now. Like he's gonna get sent off. He's gonna make an error. Like I was just waiting. I was like, where's the Calabria error? What's going on here? But then the second half, he wasn't as successful, but he looked better. Like everything was intentional. So I was like, okay. I guess we're fine. I don't know.
I grew into it.
It was weird. Yeah.
He hadn't started the game for months, which
is
something to consider. I'm glad he actually had a little bit of time in the Spezia game, wasn't it? But yeah, having him back and hopefully back at 100%. Same with Rebic, same with Romagnoli, same with Benacer, same with Tonali. Having those guys back for the derby, it just makes us look a bit stronger as a core, which is good. Just on the Ibra thing as well, I want to know at what moment he started feeling discomfort. And if that corresponds, if I was to rewatch the match, if that corresponds with when he started playing badly. So I just thought he was linking up okay for the first quarter hour, and then he just dropped off a little bit.
In the post-game highlights, they did show he actually signaled to the bench, and then he was given the ball right after. So maybe whoever had the ball thought he wants the ball. And that's when it panned to Giroud taking his jacket off, and then it pans back, and he made a pass. But then right after he did a few bounces, he kind of hopped for a bit. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, he is hurt. Because I thought the same thing as you. I was like, they're just showing Giroud. Why is he taking his jacket off? It's the 30th minute. He's not coming on.
Showing off the new warm-up jacket, which is really nice, by the way. Yeah. I like that. That's it, I guess, for the Juve game.
Yeah,
we will do a special derby.
Out of that.
Yeah, I know. Talked about some good underlying themes, though. Italian football's dead. We'll do a derby preview next week. Hopefully, have a guest on and do that game justice because that's absolutely massive, obviously. But in the meantime, all we can do is move on to some transfer rumours and some questions. So I've done a rumours thing, don't worry. There we go.
But you spelled it wrong.
No, I spelled it the right way. We create the language.
But our audience is mostly American.
Regrettably. No, I didn't mean that.
And there's the views. They're all gone.
Thank you to everyone who listens, no matter what. So we'll start with the one that's done, according to Fabrizio. We basically got the here we go on this. Pietro Pellegri's going. His loan's getting terminated early. Less than 200 minutes of football to his name. I guess we said at the time that it was a low risk financially, but it was a real gamble. It was a roll of the dice to see if we could get something out of him. We couldn't, consistent injuries. I don't know why we thought we could rehabilitate an injury-prone player, but he's going to Torino anyway to join up with Juric, who, funnily enough, is the guy who gave him his debut at 15 years old at Genoa. So that makes sense. And we are getting a guy called Marko Lazetic from Red Star Belgrade. Now, none of us have seen anything of him, let's not lie. Apart from I have seen a highlights package that somebody put together, and Rohit did a good thread on him. This isn't a massive short-term impact signing, is it? This is a signing for 2-3 years down the line. Maybe a little bit shorter, hopefully. He's very well spoken about in Serbia. They think he's going to be the next big thing to come out of the Red Star Academy. Obviously, there's another Belgrade team, Partizan, who churned out a young striker who's pretty good, called Dusan Vlahovic. So he's obviously been dubbed the new Vlahovic by some people who get carried away with headlines. And we'll see what happens. We'll see how good he is. He's going to join the first team. The deal's €5 million. So again, it's a bit low risk. It's what we would have paid for Pellegrini if he'd have worked out and we bought him outright. But I think this is another one where surely we can't really go wrong.
Yeah, I think this is a lot more low risk than loaning Pellegrini was, because this kid doesn't have an injury history. He doesn't have any experience in Serie A, so there's like all these massive question marks. And to be honest, when I first saw it, I kind of rolled my eyes and said, okay, like whatever. This isn't the signing I need in my January right now. But, for all we know, he could be the next Pele. He could be the greatest player of all time. No one's ever seen him. So it is what it is. Give him some time. He might play, he might not. Yeah, that's my assessment.
His dad knows Italy. His dad played for Lazio and I think Sampdoria. So hopefully he can pass on some advice. Obviously, the league's changed a lot since then.
I don't think that's
it's not help. A totally alien thing.
Yeah. Although I will say about Pellegrini, Martino, shout out Martino, said that Pellegrini needs to be sent back as early as September, and I agreed with it then, and we both got a lot of heat for it, but here we are in January, and he's gone. So
yeah, didn't work out, did it? And I don't want to shout it. It's not like he got 20 games and didn't score a goal, and it's just a disaster.
Well, he got injured immediately after arriving again,
and then he got injured like immediately after recovering, and then again. So it's happened again. I don't know.
And then complained about playing time.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
He did refute that on social media, we should add. Wow. But he is going somewhere for more playing time now. And I kind of hope that, things kick off again for him. Because when it's pure injury luck and not bad performances mixed with bad injury luck, it's just pure bad injury luck for him. Like, he didn't get enough minutes. Then you do feel a little bit sorry. I think it'd be a good move for him. And as for Lazetic, let's wait and see. I thought, though, if we went for a young striker, particularly one of the Balkan mould, we'd end up going for Dario Simic's son, Rocco Simic, who we've been linked with. He's at Red Bull Salzburg now. I thought he might be the kind of young striker that we'd go for and try and bring in, but this is a name out of nowhere. And again, it just goes to show that there isn't really anyone, no major source, no journalist who is tuned in with what we're thinking, because this name came out of nowhere and then it's done. And part of me is wondering if that's going to be the case with the centre-back as well. The same names are in circulation, but a player still hasn't arrived. Or do we think that we're not going to sign one now?
Well, Maldini's comments, he said it doesn't make sense to sign anyone for 6 months to take time away from players who have done good. And he specifically mentioned Kalulu and Gabia. Now, I don't think Gabia has done good, but I think Kalulu has. And that kind of makes sense to me. If we know Kier's out for the season, but we have trust in guys like Kalulu, Tomori's going to be back in a month. Romagnoli's obviously in top form. So, I mean, maybe we don't need the fourth center back as much as we think. And it was really just the injury crisis that got us where, like, we need this now. But then the players who stepped up have stepped up well. So it does make sense to me to repay their faith. I mean, we bought Kalulu outright. We didn't. This isn't a loan. This isn't a youth academy guy who's just going to go back down. He's not just playing a role right now. Like, he is a signing for the future. So if he could get minutes now and he's doing it well, why would you take those away from him? So yes, go for a center back, but go over the summer, or try and link something up now and loan him back out. Like we did with Hadley.
Yeah. That's the way I
still seems to be the name. We obviously have the good relation with the club, so why give up on that if it's potentially to do it over the summer, especially when at that point Lille will know where they're at and what they need, so they might be a lot more open to selling at a lower price than what they quoted Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle are apparently now paying 55 million for Diego Carlos from Sevilla, which just goes to show that they're throwing money at.
I saw they were linked to Lingard right now as well.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I actually do agree with what Maldini says, and people might not like the idea that we're not going to sign a centre-back in January, given that's what all the rumours have been about. But don't just sign someone for the sake of it, because they're going to cost money if it's a loan or not. They do cost money. And there are young players there that deserve faith. But I also read it as Gabir and Kalulu are the ones who are the backup options, essentially, at the moment. That's what he said, taking playing time away from them. But that bit, taking space away from them, that means, I guess, if the right opportunity pops up, then we might take it. And that's when we might consider a loan for Gabir to make sure that, he's not getting his playing time cut into too much. I mean, Japhet Tanganga is the name that I guess most of the major sources are reporting at the moment. Do you know what? There's a bit of the Tomori about him in the sense that he came through an academy, obviously at Spurs, and Tomori at Chelsea. Burst into the first team when I don't think many people were expecting him to get his chance. It was under Mourinho. And he started well and then ran into a rut of form and dropped out of the team. And Spurs fans were talking bad about him and sort of saying, can't wait to get rid of Tanganga and stuff like that. And he's now started their last 5 games in a row. And I think there's a bad start, AJ, you sent about how he's been involved in.
Yeah, he has had an error leading to a goal. Behind every single goal Spurs have conceded in the month of January, which is 8 goals in 6 games. Granted, 4 against the reigning European champions Chelsea, so can't be too harsh on that portion of it. But some of them are teams like Morecambe, so it's
respect Morecambe.
No, it doesn't seem that great. And to be honest, if our option is get him on a dry loan, or trust Kalulu, who knows the team and has been in form and has been a loyal servant and player for us, then I'm in support of just nicking off the whole idea of a center back and just trusting Kalulu.
No, that's fair. I like Tanganga as a profile. I like what you would say his strengths are. I've always thought that we needed a deputy to Tomori more so than we needed a deputy to Kier. Because I thought Kier and Magnoli, they can operate same side of the defence and they complement Tomori well, and a deputy to Tomori would be good. Kalulu's kind of stepped up in that aggression, pace, athleticism type mould. And Tanganga would come in and probably, that's the way that he plays as well. He's an aggressive centre-back. I think that's why he commits so many errors. I'd like to go back and watch the goals and see if he made an absolute howler leading to any of them. But, it's subjective what an error is and all that. But, it sounds like he's not in great form and a loan move might do him a bit of good. Will I be gutted if it doesn't happen? No. Will I support him if it does? Then yeah. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, we've been linked with every single centre-back under the sun. There are some that I'm dead against, like Eric Bailly. I don't see the point in getting him on loan. He's 27 now. I just don't. He would come on a handsome salary probably as well. He's currently at AFCON as well, so he wouldn't be able to do anything for 2 weeks, basically, providing Ivory Coast do go deep into the competition. Botman sounds like he's too expensive. Bremer, we're waiting for the summer. So, that's where we're at now. I don't think we should bring anyone in for the sake of it. They've got to come in and fill a gap. They've got to provide something that we don't currently have. Otherwise, let's stick with the 22-year-old Gabir. Let's not forget that. He's an academy graduate who probably deserves a bit more investment of time. And a 21-year-old Pierre Kalulu.
And that's the thing. Unless you're making a big money signing that's going to do an immediate impact, January signings aren't the largest thing. It's you either get a small deal that's going to be for the future and they're not going to play much when you don't need anything. But if you need it, then you got to fork up huge cash because it's the middle of everyone's season. Every team knows where they're at and no one wants to get rid of the top player.
I've not understood people who are talking about Lille as if they're some kind of, bottom feeding club.
No, they're mid-table.
No, then yeah, and also they're in the Champions League knockout stages is what they are. So they've already gone one.
What are we?
The top of the table.
Because they're in the Champions League knockout stages.
Yeah, they are, and they're going to get knocked out probably because I think they got Chelsea. But still, Lille have already sold their starting right winger Jonathan Icone to Fiorentina. If they needed to raise some money, which they probably still do, let's be honest, it's up to them who they sell. And they're saying they can't do without Botman. They want Botman for the big Champions League tie, because if they can keep it tight, then who knows what might happen.
Right.
And then the money, the revenue that you get from the next round and the next round, it might be enough, you know. They've also sold their right back, I think, to Atletico Madrid today. So liquidity-wise, they're bringing some money in. So I don't think it's a case of we've got Lille bent over a barrel and they have to sell Botman to us. If anything, they're the ones who hold the cards, because they know a Premier League team's going to bid big money in the summer. I think Bremer arrives in the summer, but we'll see. And I don't think anything's going to happen with anyone else. I don't think there's going to be another signing for the attack. Don't look like a midfielder's coming. I don't think there'll be any surprises. I don't think the window will be over, will it? Well, it should be deadline day when we record next.
Fun. Hopefully we'll get breaking news.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
On to questions.
Some questions. Try to pick out the best ones. I haven't had a look at them just yet, but I did see one that we got from Stefano, so I'll read that
Awful
one
question.
out first. Does Kalulu have greater potential at centre back or right back? Right back. If you want to know why that's true, ask Kalulu himself. He said he sees himself as more of a right back than a centre back. Jan put centre back. He's wrong.
Yeah,
he's going to get more.
John's been preaching that in the chat in the middle of the night when no one was active. He put, "I'm spot on again about Kalulu being a center back," and I wanted to bite. I wanted to have a go, but I was like, I'm in the middle of something. I don't need to. So,
I mean, he says it like he was the one
right
who discovered it. You know, he was playing centre back for Lyon. He does have experience playing there, but
yeah, I mean,
he's done well though.
It was known when we signed him that he was versatile. I mean, that's every signing we've made since Maldini took over, someone that could play more than one position. So it's really not shocking that a fullback can also be a center back. But
yeah, not a massive fan of this thing where people try to typecast a player into one role. For example, we've seen Calabria play central midfield, right back, left back. We've seen Florenzi play right back, right wing. Seen so many combinations of things, players playing multiple positions. Someone playing centre back and right back equally well shouldn't be completely alien. But I'm just going off what Kalulu says. He says he prefers playing right back. So
yeah, I'm picking right back because John says centre back. So and he's not here to defend himself.
I mean, he's done great at center back, so I don't know why we wouldn't just keep on doing that.
Fair enough.
That's also a good argument, I suppose. Rocky Award, can we finish top four without playing Kessie? And if he doesn't renew, do you want the management to freeze him out of the squad? No. I don't think that's the way this relationship's going to end. I don't think he's going to renew his contract, but I think he's determined to stay and try and help us win a league title as his last hurrah. Now, yes, he's not that noble kind of, I'm going to help you do this and then I'm going to leave. This isn't a Michael Jordan type thing. You know, the guy's still a prick for coming out in the Olympics and saying, I'm going to renew my contract, don't worry about it, and then not doing it. Like that will still be the overwhelming emotion when fans think of Kessie. But I think he's going to stay. Sounds like he's turned down a move to Spurs, even though we agreed a 15 million fee with them. We could have used that money. That would have been nice to have. But
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the fixtures he's missed. A 3-1 win over Roma, a 3-0 win over Venezia, a 3-1 win over Genoa, a 2-1 robbery loss against Spezia, and a boring 0-0 against Juve. So, yes, he probably could have helped us win the game against Juve, but it's not like we struggled against them. The game against Spezia, we won. So let's not even pretend like this is, a disaster performance. We got robbed. We won that game, and then we were robbed.
Yeah, and also us not having a defensive midfielder wouldn't have been the difference between a win and a defeat anyway. We're not talking about a 20-goal a season player here.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly. So I don't think it's unreasonable to say that we're still going to get top four even without him. I mean, he's missed plenty of games this season already, let alone this month. I mean, this is our hardest stretch of games with Inter next, Lazio after that. I mean, depending on those results and the fact that we scored 9 goals in the first 3 games without him. I mean, I don't think we need to really say that like we're going to drop out of top 4 because he's gone, and I also don't think we would freeze him out.
Yeah, I mean, freezing him out is just going to piss him off more.
You're paying his salary. Like, why would you?
Right. I mean, respectfully, I don't give a shit if he's upset. That doesn't matter to me. He's a player, which means he's not anything else to me. Like
he's doing.
Yeah,
as well.
but at the same time, like you're going to utilize all your resources, whether that's a player who's leaving or not. I mean, how many times do you see a player announce that they've signed a pre-contract and then still play? Like they don't get frozen out. The only time it would have made sense to freeze out a player who's assigned a pre-contract would be Stefan de Vrij when he was playing Inter that got them into the Champions League the last game of the season. That was suspicious, and I think everyone knows that probably wasn't cool. But that's the only time you freeze a player out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been right all along, as Gian would say about himself. Bakayoko's coming back, baby, and he's playing great. So
he had a great game yesterday. He had a great game.
He didn't even play yesterday. I don't know why. He would have
been
great.
I know. So that says a lot about how much we value him.
When Brahim came off and they showed him sit down on the bench next to Bakayoko, I genuinely said, I forgot Bakayoko was on the team. Like, I saw it.
I don't know why he didn't play, though.
I was so confused.
Brought Benacer on, even though he'd got off a plane 2 days ago. At least he didn't drop a Thomas Partey.
You know what? Benacer did great. So
he did play good, yeah.
He did okay.
Well,
all right.
For a player who just got off a plane 2 days ago.
He also may have done better than Bakayoko would have done.
Probably did.
Maybe. We might have got that screamer. We'll never know.
Yeah, we would have got the screamer, but not on our end. It would have been against us.
Also, we'll say, before someone shouts at us in the comments, worth noting that Kessie's last performance was literally a match-winning performance.
Yeah,
Empoli,
playing out of position.
Against okay, next question. Luis Semple. Now, I put this in the chat. I can't remember if you guys were awake. Might have been middle of the night for you. But Ousmane Dembele is leaving Barca. Should we have a pop? I think he's a bit too injury-prone. I think they're probably not going to put us a deal on the salary. Has he played more than 5 games? Let me have a look. Basically, he's a right winger, isn't he? And we saw at Dortmund what you can do in a good system. Yeah, he's played 6 games, Maddie. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm talking about altogether in his Barca career, not just this year.
No, but that's a mess as well. By the way, he's coming out and saying, "I'm not going anywhere." Barca is saying, "You are. We're selling you." That's
when
a
I
real
check
mess.
FootMob right now, it says he's injured for personal reasons with an unknown expected return. So that's interesting. But also his six, that's literally what it says. I don't know. What does that mean? But it says 6 matches, 0 goals, 2 assists, but an overall rating of 7.3, which is pretty stellar. It's a right wing. If Macias wants to continue to help Isaac win this bet, then so be it. Let's get Dembele in here. Because he's not going to play every game this season, and that's okay. We still need a right wing, so
let's
he's
say
better.
Samu leaves.
But why would you sign someone who's injury prone as he's made of glass?
Because that's all we've done the last 2 years. What's one more?
Going, baby.
What's one more with a big name? At least he has a name
big
value.
Wages. Get him in. Huge wages. Okay, so on the injury front, he had a hamstring injury in November, and that's his only injury so far this season. Missed 2 games. So I guess the rest and then COVID, he missed 2 games. So, but before that, he's had a knee problem and stuff, and hamstring injury. Yeah.
So he's only missed 4 games to injury, but he's only played 6 this season.
Yeah, right. Well, they've fallen out, haven't they? With the contract.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why it's probably.
Yeah, but he'd be fired up to come to us and prove a point.
Exactly. And I think
and then go back.
Do a
He'll
job
go back at the end of his loan.
And that's cool. That's fine. Just get us the Scudetto. Let's call it a day. I don't even care.
No, do you know what will happen is he'll come here, play 1 game, and tear his ACL.
That's cool too. Then we just send him right back. Bye.
He'd be struggling with
the
San Siro pitch.
Yeah.
Can we get ketamine 156? Interesting. Can we give Brahim some credit?
What are you doing on Friday night?
Ketamine 156. Is that a quantity? Can we give Brahim some credit for his best performance recently? As in my eyes, he played very well, and honestly, anti-football that Juve just didn't give us much space with an awful pitch as well. I wanted to read that out because I totally agree with him there, and I wanted to mention that Juve plays shit football. So thank you for that comment.
Yeah, I think we did all kind of acknowledge that Brahim had a really good game. So yes, I agree. And Juve sucks.
Dario Milanista sees plenty of hate towards Maldini and co on Twitter, which is becoming a weird trend. And he wants our opinion on the job Maldini so far is. I guess we should give it a rating.
I'm going to assume that you want our idea of how Maldini is done.
Yeah, you cut out there.
Sorry, did I cut out? Yeah, how Maldini's done as a director so far.
I'm going to start by saying don't believe anything anyone says on Twitter because it's a cesspool for bad opinions.
Yes. Including your own.
Yeah.
Including my own and Gian's.
And mine.
Just kidding.
fact, most of my opinions aren't even my actual opinions.
Stefano
it's just bullshit I'm spewing. So
while we're digging people out, Stefano deserves some stick as well. That's it.
Don't give anyone's opinion who are part of SempreMilan.
Who else is on our team that we could say is bad?
Fred
Isaac
about anime now. Bidair's the worst potentially, but also I agreed with everything he said last week. So
everyone in the comment section last week said Bidair was the best.
He doesn't even tweet about Milan.
Freddie's movie's an anime, which is a really weird hybrid for a South African bloke, but I'm not here to generalize. Yeah.
But you did. Twitter sucks, man. And that's why I love it. It's just all garbage, and it's cool. So if you want real opinions, you
check out the SempreMilan podcast.
I was gonna say you might find a few, and then I remembered I just had to explain to someone a comment that I pulled out of my ass from a few episodes ago. So not all the comments you hear here are also great, but
the question though, Maldini's work as a director so far,
I think it's been great.
With the subtext and the context that he came in and was working with a restricted budget for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
and the task of rebuilding a really bad squad. And people always talk about getting rid of players that are fringe players like it's really easy. Like just sell Castillejo, sell Conti, blah, blah, blah. The reason that we're struggling is because nobody wants them.
And their wages are ridiculously high.
It's not easy to get rid of players that you don't want because guess what? Nobody else wants them either.
Yeah, there's a reason you want to get rid of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Samu. I think if he leaves, it'll be on loan, probably.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard to offer a player up and be like, look, we could give you this guy, and then be like, well, how's he done this season? You look, he hasn't been called up in 23 games. Why would I?
I'd also rather play Samu than Salamakers at this point. Wow. Salamakers has taken shots.
He had an incredible dribble on the top of the left box, or I guess on the bottom, depending on how you want to look at it, late in the game. And then he just shot that fucker high. And I was like, what are you doing, man? There were options. And he made a great play, and I was so hyped.
And dribble didn't matter because he just wasted his opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, it's that final decision-making that we struggle with again and again, year after year.
Samu has always been someone who passes the ball before he shoots. He's also had some wicked, terrible shots, but he passes.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
He also had that match-changing performance against Hellas Verona in the 3-2 comeback win.
Yeah, he was the man of the match then.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to mention an October performance in January.
That's not. Also, Salamakers
like he generalized Fred.
Salamakers has now extended. God bless Fred. Has now extended his lead at the top of Serie A for nutmegs because he got another one in. So that's our 19th Scudetto. I think that's pretty much it. To be honest, we've got a lot of questions on squad depth and whether it's good enough to fight for the title.
You kind of answer that.
Switching to a 4-3-3, which we do talk about several weeks in a row now. And Brahim, so excellent. Jobs are good, and boys. We'll be back next week to preview the Inter game. As I say, hopefully get a guest on for that. And international break. We've got no South American players, so that's good. Nobody reporting there.
Oh, that's really good. There's Inter.
Yeah, no, but
no, they got Lautaro,
Vidal, and Correa, but Correa is
he's not playing anyway.
So he's probably going to miss the derby as well, so that's fine.
Yeah, but Lautaro being out is good, and Vidal, I mean, that's hit or miss. Sometimes he drops bombs, sometimes he drops stinkers. So
it's one less option on the bench, so they probably have to bring Gagliardini or Ficino on now. If Ficino's not gone by the time that comes around, or Sensi, whatever. And we'll preview that game then. And in the meantime, let's hope we can have a transfer or two to recap when we record next week. No goals to talk about this week, but won't have any next week either. So good stuff. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. Being joined by Anthony.
Yep. Great episode. For a boring game, we managed to cover a lot of ground. So it's just like our performance. Did a whole lot of nothing. It's great. And Maddie, sign us off, I guess.
Yeah. Next week we'll have nothing to talk about, but we'll be here.
Thank you for covering the ground with me, lads. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Check out the website for all the latest transfer news, features, tactical analysis, all that kind of stuff. Check out the store. Orders still coming in. Thank you very much to everybody who's bought a piece of merchandise from us. All funds are directed back into what we do. So we really appreciate that. Like, comment, subscribe, and check out for something that we're launching in the next week, which is a newsletter to your email. So we'll have some more details on that in the coming week. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you in a week.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, Ibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono.